All right. So, of course, thinking about job searching, we're thinking about internship, practicum searching during this presentation. So, our agenda for today, again, preparing for the job search, but also internship, practicum search. We're going to talk about getting organized, goals that you should set during this time, some recommendations, advice, and resources. We're going to talk about, where are public health jobs, helpful tips for searching. I'm going to bring in, and I know a few of you have been to our events before, but just touch base real quick on those career readiness competencies so that you remember what ones are most important to articulate in your interviews. I'm briefly going to cover preparing for an interview just because this presentation is about preparing for the whole job search process. So I feel like I should at least touch on that a little bit. And then I'm going to share some tips as you think about 2021 and job searching. So. All right, so preparing for the job search, getting organized is at the utmost importance. So I like to just take time, think. I'm not necessarily the most big picture person, but trying to get my thoughts straight, I feel like is important. So, pull out a piece of paper, pull out your computer, whatever's most easy, and just start thinking about, what direction are you heading? What are your goals? Do you have a particular specialization or do you want to work in a certain sector? So just start thinking through those questions. Consider your short-term and long-term career goals as you look for either internships, practicums, or even, your first job out of college. Thinking about those long-term goals can also help you in the short term. Is your resume and cover letter up to date? If it's not, definitely schedule an appointment with Dawn or I to talk about that. And I know that I did cover this just a few weeks ago in our resume workshop, but personalizing your resume and cover letter, especially with keywords, is extremely important. And I'll talk about this a little bit later too, but it's really important right now, especially with all of the automated machines that employers are using. If you can, do your research as you're applying to these positions, pull out keywords and that you can put on that cover letter and resume, that will really help you. And we'll talk about that. Consider your networks, reach out to everyone within your network. Make sure you have those references lined up if you haven't already spoken to them. If you have had them, but maybe haven't communicated with them recently, I would recommend that you contact them. Make sure you provide them with an updated resume because perhaps you've had an experience since them serving as your reference. So make sure they have an up-to-date resume. And then obviously not most importantly, but also important is to make sure that your LinkedIn and your Handshake profiles are up to date. So also along with getting organized, I am fairly old school. So using spreadsheets is like what I like to do just because I don't know, I'm not as tech savvy. But feel free to use whatever is most comfortable for you. So in doing even research for this presentation, I found out that there are project management tools and apps that you can use for the job search. I didn't even know that. And so a few of them that were listed, and I haven't played around with them a lot yet. I've just read about them, but there's Trello, JobTrack, Job Hero. Again, they're all online, so electronic if you prefer to have something more I guess high tech. Or you can just use a simple spreadsheet. But in thinking about using a spreadsheet, think about when you applied for this position, the job title, who did you send this to, have a column for interview, did you follow up with your thank yous? Just a way to help keep you organized as you're applying for all of these positions. And I think too, when you get a call or an email, whatever it may be, for an interview, you'll be able to go back to this and you'll remember exactly which one it was that you applied to. So I like the idea of making some kind of spreadsheet, whatever it may be, whatever works best for you, even if it's written down. I mean, you could do something like that too. Because another thing to point out with the job search process, and I'm sure many of you have felt this already, is that it's kind of like a part-time job. You know, you're going to be, I would recommend that you set aside a certain amount of time every week in which you research and search for jobs. And we'll talk about some good sites to research, but regardless, set aside that time every week where you're devoting to researching, making your resume and cover letter adaptable, for that specific position. So being organized is extremely helpful. Let's see here. And so again, like I was saying, the more organized you are during the process, I just feel like it'll go more smoothly and you'll feel more prepared. So, preparing for the job search, thinking about resources. So, of course, I know you've all spoken to at least Dawn or I, and we always promote Handshake. So, Handshake is OSU's resource for job posting. So, again, I'm going to throw that out there. Make sure you have your Handshake profile up to date. We have resources. We can connect you to resources if you're still in the process of doing that. We're more than happy to help you. And one thing to keep in mind when you're using Handshake is, yes, you can search by your major if you wanted to, but there's also a search bar where you could narrow down your search. So for example, health promotion or global public health or environmental. I would really recommend that you use that search bar just to help narrow down positions that you're most interested in. Career fairs, there are still career fairs going on, and I will try to remember. If I forget, send me an email. I'm going to try to remember to send this presentation, but I linked it here within the presentation. I just gave a small snippet of a few of them that are coming up soon, but regardless, there are still career fairs coming, so keep an eye out for that. Attend those, highly recommend that. Dawn and I both have Carmen sites. So for undergraduate students, I post positions to the BSPH undergraduate career services site, try to do that weekly. Not only positions that I search for, but positions that employers or preceptors may send to me. And then Dawn has the My Career Plan also. So definitely keep an eye on those. I think Indeed is a great site. There are many of them, but I just like Indeed. You can sign up to receive emails and alerts. So definitely do that because you can narrow down your search in that way. Of course, LinkedIn, not only for networking, but you can search for positions on LinkedIn. And then another recommendation I would have is, some of you may already know what companies or organizations you'd really like to look or to work at. So go to their site, see if you can sign up to get automated emails or alerts. And if not, then I would say just keep, a running list of those sites that you're going to go back to weekly to research. But again, if you can sign up for emails or alerts, that'll help make your life a little bit easier. So where are the public health jobs? So as I'm sure most of you can think of it in many ways. You can think about, the specializations or the areas that you're interested in. You can also think about where would you want to work. So do you want to work in the public sector and work for either local state government or the federal government? Do you want to work more with a nonprofit organization, either, in general health, global health? Are you interested in the private sector, healthcare systems, consulting, working for a for-profit firm? So just another way to start thinking about ways in which you can search for jobs. There's no right or wrong way. I think it's all in how you view where you want to go. So the next two slides are on our website, and I do have them linked down at the bottom, but I thought I would pull them out just in case if you have not seen them. But both of the first one's from graduate outcomes and the second one will be undergraduate outcomes, but it just shows you, where our alumni are. You can see the average salary, and again, this was from 2017 and 2018. You can see, that 68% were employed. So it really breaks down, like the outcomes by sector, shows you some examples of employers. And again, this information is from our website. This one is the graduate. And then this one here is the undergraduate. So again, you can kind of see the breakdown just to see where our alumni are going. And just so you know too, it's on our website under the career services and underneath career resources, you'll see a graduate outcomes tab, but I'm more than happy to send it to you also. All right. So when we think about the public sector, the local and state governments, these are three sites that are good for searching for those types of jobs. So I included that within this. Every state, depending on where you're going to live after graduation, every state has local health departments. Ohio has 113 local health departments. But then there are other local and state agencies that you could consider working for. And so I've listed some of those here. If you're interested in federal jobs, the USA Jobs, I think .gov, yes, as a good site to search for jobs. So again, if you're looking at the public sector, these are good resources that you could use. So for nonprofit, I kind of broke it up and gave a few tips. So, when I think about nonprofit organizations, I provided some sites or there's some good sites for searching for positions, and I kind of give a little brief description. But when you're thinking about a nonprofit site, some of the tips I would say is to make sure you research the organization fully. And I say this because you want to determine, like, does this fit with you? Like, does this organization fit with you? Does it fit with, your goals, not only personally and professionally, but also your career goals long term? So doing as much research as you can about, and I would say this about any job, but, as you're researching for nonprofit, and just, keep in mind that, there are often a lot of smaller nonprofits. And so there's a high demand. So when you think about a high demand, you want to find how to best, network and market yourself. So just something to consider if this is an area. So any kind of experience that you can gain through volunteering, through networking, through internships, practicum is beneficial. And then if you're interested in global public health, I'm sure that if this was an area of interest, I'm sure you've been pursuing, as much experience in this area as possible, but, trying to reach out early to get those internships, network with global health NGOs and nonprofits, trying to make connections, seeking that international experience, being able to speak multiple languages is definitely beneficial too. And not, just to be realistic in the process, because obviously you are competing globally with a lot of other people. However, you can also do a lot of research, in the meantime, as to how to get there. How did people that are in positions you're interested in get there? What experiences can you get? How can you network and market yourself, if this is a goal of yours? So when it comes to the private sector and healthcare systems, I went on to Fortune 500, and these are the top 12 healthcare companies of 2020. So just a few tips if you're thinking about this sector is, they can obviously range in size. So take time to figure out the firm that you're applying to, their structure, their history. I mean, you'll see a theme as I talk. Research is really important. That's another reason why this feels like a part-time job, because, not only are you applying, but you're researching all these companies that you're applying to. So take time to understand the various career tracks, if you can, of that firm. Asking important questions, is vitally important too. I feel like, not only are you wanting to work for this company, but you also want to gauge, are you a good fit for them? I know when I even think back to, my time of applying to jobs and interviewing, if I didn't get something, often, I will, I'll reflect and see if there's things I can do better. However, at the same time, if they didn't think I was a good fit, it's probably good that I didn't get it, because you want to have a good fit. You want to be able to work on a good team and build, those strong relationships. So make sure you ask important questions to, gauge employee morale and just how the office is. And then, negotiate, networking can help. If possible, sometimes with the larger companies, you are able to see like pay scales, job trajectories, and pay ranges. So, if you can, do the research, know what you're going into and what to expect, and know what you deserve. So with consulting, these here are the top 12 consulting companies within healthcare from Vault. And this is from 2020 also. But just some tips for consulting is, if possible, try to incorporate business coursework. This is not required. However, having that business knowledge base can definitely help you know a little bit more, feel more comfortable, but also help with just that learning curve. So if you can take a few business classes, go for it. Build your career towards that if you know that's something you're interested in. The consulting interview process can be challenging, so make sure that that you ensure that you have the skills required. It's also about working in a team, about just kind of what I was saying in the last slide about chemistry and fit. So do your research. And prepare for the case interview. Consulting firms typically use this type of interviewing as they interview applicants. So, come prepared with tips and tricks, do your research, think logically. Creativity is also massively important too. But don't forget that there are alumni. We have alumni. You can find through the college, you can find through networking, any kind of advice and tips you can get from them will also help you in this endeavor. So just really quick, the career competencies. So NACE has career competencies, which I have included up here in the top right. But there is an article that they published, and I linked it within this slide here, where they talk about the top 4 career competencies that employers are looking for, as they're hiring employees. And so the one nice thing about this, and I've shared this in a previous presentation last semester, is that all of you within public health you should have all of these. So go in feeling positive already, because your classes and your practicums and your internships set you up to be stronger in these competencies. So when you think about critical thinking and problem solving, I mean, not only are they teaching you that in your courses, but you're also learning this through your volunteer experiences, through your internships. Teamwork and collaboration. Obviously, you're doing that within your classroom, within group projects, but also on the job. Professionalism, and work ethic, demonstrating, effective work habits, the nonverbal communication, oral and written communication, just making sure that you can articulate your thoughts, clearly, is important. So what I would recommend is, as you prepare for, these interviews, as you're job searching, not only so I'll back up. I like to think of job interviews as kind of like a test. So I prepare for them. Like, I've always prepared for every job interview by literally studying. So I'm not the best like on my feet. So I like to think through what kind of questions could they ask, think about my experience and how that applies. But not only that, is you have, right here are 4 skills that employers value. So think of ways that you'll be able to pull these competencies and skills into your interview. And then also, obviously, any kind of keywords or key terms that they use within those job descriptions. These 2 things right here will really help you stand out in an interview. Hopefully that makes sense. And so this, I just wanted to touch base on really quickly. I have it. It's a document I created, I think, last summer. So it's on our website. And so I know we've talked a lot about researching, preparing. So really understanding that job description and what's expected of you. So knowing that when you come in for an interview, thinking about the fact that if you're going to be interviewing in the near future, that they're very likely going to be virtual. So considering that too, the virtual interviews obviously are a little bit different, but yet at the same time, a lot of the same things. Sure, you don't have to drive to that location, but make sure you're on early, make sure you're someplace that has reliable internet access. One of the things that I find challenging, even as I'm doing this and talking to all of you, is I want to look at your faces, but remembering that the camera is more like the eye contact. So, if you can, looking at the camera as opposed just to the faces. And it's kind of awkward. So I understand, but just something to keep in mind. But so think about why you're applying for this position. Come prepared. Know that Dawn and I can do mock interviews with you to help you prepare. If you're interested in that, we're more than happy to do that. Think about your voice, your body language. If you are going on site for an interview, and if you can, I would go to that location before, just so you know exactly where you're going, how to get there. Do you have to pay for parking? If so, how do you do that? Just all of those small details that you may forget while you're nervous and preparing. um, and then remember that, it says sell yourself. And I know sometimes students struggle with this. I'll hear it in 3180 is, you feel like it's conceited, but it's not. Think about this. Like, you're all in school. You've gone through 4 or 6 or more years of school. You know what you're doing. Have these experiences. So really it's just talking about all that you've done, while also having that excitement and enthusiasm for the future and what can be. Like, I mean, you all are in a great program that has really prepared you. So take confidence in that. And it's just a matter of preparing and explaining why you're here, what you're doing. You'll be, I have confidence that you'll sell yourself well. So think of it really as, as just sharing your passion and why you want to work at that place. Don't forget to, bring some questions for the position for the people interviewing you. And then of course, follow up. So sending thank yous is also important. So I just wanted to highlight that since we're talking about job searching. And then finally, so some future considerations for 2021. I read this article, it's down on the bottom right, but one of the points they made was historical hiring trends don't necessarily apply in 2021. Well, first, actually, you know what? I want to start out by saying there are jobs out there. Okay. Like, I know that there's a lot of stress and concern about jobs and internships, but I promise you there are a lot out there. I find so many every week. So know that even if you hear people say there's not jobs, there really are. So take comfort in knowing that there are jobs out there. So as we talk about these, remember that I'm starting with that. But historical trends typically say that most jobs are posted, I think, January, February, and then sometimes in autumn. Well, that might not apply for 2021, just because obviously we're kind of recovering from COVID. So, or we're still in it, but you know what I mean, like with economy. So know that it may not be that there's a whole bunch right at the beginning of the year, but that they'll be, sprinkled throughout the whole year. So just keep that in mind and just stay consistent. There are key industries that will be booming, one of which is healthcare and health tech. So again, as I was saying, do your research on the position, show enthusiasm, identify those transferable skills, and just really work to network and expand your network. You may see more temporary, freelance, and contract work because those will be on the rise. And so as you see those, you can think about, what is best for you. There are a chance that these positions could turn full-time, so that might be completely fine for you. Just consider your goals, but know that you may see more of those positions. Remote work is here to stay. This article was talking about how we'll unlikely return to pre-2020 levels of in the office. So they were talking about the many places will probably have a hybrid mix. There will be some organizations that will stay remote. And then there will of course be some that completely return to the office, but know that, our work as we know it, 2021, pre-2020 is different. It's going to look a bit different. Many companies will be expanding their focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So with that in mind, proactively position yourself. So, if you're part of an underrepresented group, consider joining some professional organizations, not only to network, but, they will also know of many of the good quality companies to apply for. Be prepared to answer questions on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then also do research on the company. And if that is something that is important to you, see if they state that and see if you see it throughout the company. So again, do research. I feel like I'm a broken record. Recruiting will continue to be more automated. So this is what I was referring to at the beginning. When you think about using those keywords and you think about having a clean and organized resume, a lot of them will be using scanning, like scanning documents for their resume and cover letter. So again, the more organized you are with your cover letter and resume, and the more you use those keywords, that will be beneficial. And I also read that some are using pre-recorded interviews. I don't exactly know what that looks like, but something that I have read a few times. So just something to keep in mind as you know you're searching. Um, and then, there will likely be more overall competition. However, as I said, all of you are very well prepared. So make sure you polish your resume cover letter. We're here to help you, make sure your LinkedIn and Handshake profile are up to date, be strategic and think of ways to make yourself stand out. Be patient. I know that's easier said than done. And like, as we were talking about this being like a part-time job, it can be exhausting. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so that in itself is extremely exhausting. So, you know, be kind to yourself, but also be patient, but also be consistent. Don't give up if you don't hear something right away. But, try to stay as well balanced as possible. And with that in mind, practice self care. Because it is like we recognize that this is, an extremely difficult and stressful time, but we also know that, for all of you and all the classes and all the experiences you've had, that you are well prepared to, enter the job market or to enter a practicum or internship. Reach out to us if you have questions. But yeah, so take care of yourself in the midst of this. And that is all I have. So let me stop this and stop the recording.